From the national newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Don Mitchell. Liberal leader Mark Carney promising to get the federal government back into the business of home building, using a new entity to act as a developer on housing projects. Under the plan, Build Canada Homes would provide more than $25 billion in financing to innovative builders of prefabricated homes. At a campaign stop north of Toronto today, Carney said the new approach is aimed to, quote, build faster, build smarter, and build more affordably. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says his plan to retrofit millions of houses could save families up to $4,500 a year. During a stop in BC, Singh says the plan would pay for energy-saving home upgrades by cutting subsidies and tax breaks for oil and gas companies.
And we would use that money instead of giving it to highly profitable oil and gas companies. Instead, we would give supports to everyday families. Because that's who we're in it for. We're not in it for the billionaires like the other parties. We're in it for you and your family.
And meanwhile, on the campaign trail, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre announced a plan to get Canada's energy and resources to markets inside and outside the country. Poilievre says the Canada First National Energy Corridor would be pre-approved for critical energy and resource infrastructure.
That will allow our incredible businesses to build pipelines, transmission lines, rail lines, and countless other kinds of infrastructure that we need to break our dependence on the Americans, ship our resources to ourselves and overseas markets.
Poilievre says permits for these sorts of projects would be pre-authorized after environmental assessments and Indigenous consultations. More than 24,000 Hydro-Quebec customers are in the dark this afternoon as crews work to restore power connected with a storm system traveling eastward. Environment Canada put parts of Quebec, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia under freezing rain and storm warnings today as ice accumulation downed trees and power lines. Hundreds of thousands of people across Ontario lost power on the weekend after freezing rain coated the province with thick layers of ice. And a Kremlin official says Russia sees the latest efforts to end the Ukraine war as, quote, a drawn-out process with no consensus. In an update today, the spokesman insisted there was nothing concrete as Russia has effectively rejected a U.S. proposal for a full and immediate 30-day halt in the fighting. Reporter Marcus Moore says it's happening as Russia has launched a fresh round of attacks on Ukraine.
Drone attacks have continued. In fact, Russia launched 131 drones across northeastern Ukraine and in the Kyiv region. Officials say that half of those drones were shot down, but that some did make it through their defenses, including in a residential area in Kharkiv, where several people suffered injuries. And also over the weekend, Ukrainian officials say that a military hospital was targeted, and they have accused Russia of committing war crimes.
Analysts, Ukrainian and Western officials say both countries are preparing for a spring-summer campaign on the battlefield. This is the Canadian Press. In sports and the NHL, the Calgary Flames look to help their playoff chances when they visit the Colorado Avalanche tonight. The Flames are 4-1-1 in their last 6 games, but a 9-game winning streak by St. Louis has Calgary 7 points back of the Blues in the race for the second Western Conference wildcard spot. The Washington Capitals have signed top prospect Ryan Leonard to an entry-level contract. The Eastern Conference leaders say Leonard could make his NHL debut tomorrow at Boston. Leonard was the 8th pick in the 2023 draft and helped the United States win back-to-back World Junior Championships. The Toronto Blue Jays continue their season-opening homestand tonight when they kick off a 3-game series with the Washington Nationals. The Blue Jays are coming off a split of a 4-game series with Baltimore. Washington dropped 2 of 3 visiting Philadelphia in its season-opening series. And Anne-Renee Desbien's status for the upcoming Women's World Hockey Championships remains uncertain after the Montreal Victoire placed her on the long-term injured reserve list. From the Canadian Press, I'm Don Mitchell.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.